Imagine for a moment that the most sophisticated technology for controlling human consciousness is not a microchip implanted under the skin, not a satellite frequency beaming from space, and not a screen held in the palm of your hand. Imagine instead that it is a biological mechanism, a subtle switch built directly into the architecture of your autonomic nervous system, a switch that you trigger unconsciously 20,000 times a day. There is a historical narrative that has been systematically excised from our academic textbooks and religious institutions. It is a fragment of forbidden knowledge that suggests the simple act of breathing is not merely a metabolic function for gas exchange, but the primary interface between the physical body and the invisible control structures of this reality. 2,000 years ago, in a time of immense political and spiritual upheaval in the Near East, a radical teaching emerged. It was whispered in the back rooms of Jerusalem, debated in the deserts of Egypt, and practiced in the hidden caves of the Essenes. It was not a religion. It was not a dogma requiring blind faith. It was a technique, a somatic protocol. The texts found in the Nag Hammadi library in Upper Egypt in 1945, specifically the opaque and mystical Apocryphon of John and the Gospel of Philip, allude to a practice that the Gnostic masters used to manually override the programming of the material world. These texts were buried in sealed jars for 1,600 years, hidden from the purges of the early Orthodox Church, which sought to destroy any teaching that empowered the individual over the institution. They spoke of the Archons. In modern translation, we might call them the rulers, the authorities, or perhaps most accurately, the system administrators. While ancient mythology personified them as demons or jealous gatekeepers, a more rigorous, analytical perspective invites us to view them as the architects of limitation. Think of them as the operating system of a computer that is designed to keep the user locked in a specific set of applications, unable to access the source code. These forces do not create the user. They cannot touch the user's essential consciousness. But they can control the environment. They can control the inputs. And most importantly, they can harvest the energy output. The premise of this ancient analysis is terrifyingly simple. The system feeds on low-frequency human emotion. Anxiety, fear, shame, guilt, outrage, and despair are not just uncomfortable feelings. They are bioelectrical signals. They are energy. And for that energy to be harvested, the human generator must remain in a specific physiological state. That state is maintained minute by minute by the breath. Look closely at your own life in the 21st century. If you have ever felt a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep cannot cure, if you wake up with a tightness in your chest that has no medical explanation, if you feel a persistent, low-grade anxiety that hums in the background of your mind regardless of how safe you actually are, you are experiencing the friction of this harvesting mechanism. You are not crazy. You are being regulated. And the regulator is your own unconscious breathing pattern. When a human being is stressed, they breathe shallowly, high in the chest. This is a biological signal. It triggers the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. This floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline. It constricts the blood vessels. It shuts down the higher cognitive functions of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for intuition, critical thinking, and empathy. It locks you into survival mode. In this mode, you are reactive. You are easily manipulated by fear-based news. You are easily divided from your neighbors. You are edible. But the Gnostic transmission speaks of a countercode, a sequence of 7 inhalations designed to hack this biological loop. This is not a meditation for relaxation or stress relief. This is a protocol for liberation. It is a manual override that forces the nervous system out of the survival program and into the sovereign state. By mastering these 7 specific breaths, you essentially make your energy field incompatible with the control system. You become invisible to the Archons because you no longer vibrate at the frequency they can perceive. We're going to dissect this protocol with precision. We are going to analyze the anatomy of the 7 attachments, the 7 psychological wounds where the system hooks into us, and the precise respiratory mechanic that severs each one. This is deep work. It requires you to understand not just the how, but the why. Because once you understand the architecture of the prison, walking out of it becomes a matter of simple mechanics. Let us begin with the foundation. The first attachment point: survival. In the Gnostic map of the body, and indeed in modern psychosomatic therapy, the fear of death and the drive for survival are rooted in the pelvic floor and the base of the spine. This is the root. The archontic programming here is subtle but pervasive. It convinces you that you are nothing more than a biological accident, a fragile body in a hostile universe, constantly under threat of annihilation. This fear is the bedrock of the control matrix. If you are afraid of dying, you can be made to do anything to survive. You will submit to authority. You will compromise your values. You will stay in line. Physiologically, this fear manifests as a chronic tension in the lower abdomen. Most adults do not breathe into their belly. They hold their stomach muscles tight, unconsciously bracing for a blow that never comes. This tension cuts off the flow of oxygen to the lower organs and keeps the nervous system in a state of hypervigilance. The first inhale of the sequence is the breath of eternity. The mechanical instruction is specific. You must bypass the chest entirely. You are to inhale slowly, directing the airflow deeply downwards, imagining it expanding the pelvic floor itself. As you do this, you are engaging the diaphragm fully, which pulls on the vagus nerve and signals immediate safety to the brainstem. But the breath must be paired with a cognitive reframing. As you inhale, you hold the intention of continuity. You acknowledge that while the body is mortal, the awareness observing the body is not. You breathe in the knowing that you are the observer, not the vessel. By saturating the root with this oxygen and this intention, you dissolve the biological panic of non-existence. You are telling your body, I am safe. I am eternal. The fear of death has no hold here. Moving upward, we encounter the second attachment point: shame. This operates in the sacral region, the center of fluidity, desire, and creation. The control system is obsessed with this center. Why? Because human creativity and human desire are the engines of manifestation. To control what a human creates, you must poison the well of their desire. The most effective poison is shame. We are taught from childhood that our natural impulses are wrong, that our bodies are dirty, that our curiosity is sinful. This creates a split in the psyche. We suppress our true nature, and that suppression requires energy. It creates a heavy, stagnant frequency in the lower body, often linked to guilt and addiction. The second inhale is the breath of forgiveness. But let us be clear, this is not about asking an external deity to forgive your sins. That is the trap of the system, keeping you in a state of perpetual debt. This is about you forgiving yourself for the crime of being human. The mechanism of this breath focuses on the area just below the navel. As you inhale, you visualize the breath as a cleansing stream of water. You are breathing in a radical acceptance of your own history. Every mistake, every flaw, every moment you judged yourself, you breathe into it. You hold the breath, allowing the pressure to build in the sacral area, metabolizing the stored trauma of shame. When you exhale, you release the need for external validation. You sever the cord that says you must be good to be loved. You reclaim your innocence. The third attachment point brings us to the solar plexus, the center of power. Here lies the trap of duality. The system engineers two primary archetypes for this center: the tyrant and the victim. The tyrant seeks to control everything around him because he feels out of control inside. The victim collapses, giving his power away to anyone who will take it. Both are reactions to the same wound, a lack of sovereignty. The Archons feed on the conflict generated by this duality. They feed on the aggression of the tyrant and the despair of the victim. Physiologically, this center is linked to the adrenal glands and the digestive fire. When blocked, we feel a knot in our stomach, a loss of will. The third inhale is the breath of sovereignty. Anatomically, this breath targets the diaphragm and the rib cage. It is an expansive breath. You inhale to expand the midsection, pushing the ribs outward 360 degrees. This posture, chest open, ribs expanded, is the physiological posture of confidence and dominance. But not dominance over others, dominance over one's own internal state. As you take this breath, you visualize a golden fire in the center of your torso. You breathe in the realization that you are the sole authority of your experience. You are not a statistic. You are not a demographic. You are a sovereign entity. This breath burns away the contracts you have signed with fear. It resets the boundaries of your energy field, declaring that nothing enters without your permission. Now we reach the pivot point, the fourth attachment point, the heart. The heart is the electromagnetic center of the human being. Science has shown that the heart produces the strongest magnetic field in the body, detectable several feet away, far stronger than the brain's field. The control system works tirelessly to shut this center down. How? By selling the lie of conditionality. We are programmed to believe that love is a transaction. I will love you if you behave. I will be worthy of love if I succeed. This transactional mindset causes the heart to close. We build walls to protect ourselves from rejection, but those walls also block us from our own power. A closed heart generates a chaotic, incoherent magnetic field that weakens the immune system and the intuition. The fourth inhale is the breath of remembrance. This is the most delicate breath of the sequence. It requires a shift from doing to feeling. You inhale directly into the center of the chest, but you do it softly, without force. The visualization is of permeability. Imagine the breath passing through the skin, through the bone, directly into the heart space. The intention here is to remember the nature of the monad, or the source. The source does not bargain. It does not judge. It is a constant transmission of connection. You breathe in the truth that you are made of the same substance as the stars. You do not need to earn your place in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. As you hold this breath, you imagine the armor around your heart dissolving. You are effectively switching your magnetic field from a state of protection to a state of connection. This high-frequency coherence is toxic to the archontic parasites. They cannot attach to a heart that is wide open. Ascending to the throat, we find the fifth attachment point, expression. The throat is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. It is where the abstract becomes concrete, where thought becomes sound. The system fears the human voice. It fears the power of a truth spoken clearly. Therefore, it engineers a culture of silence and conformity. We are terrified of being judged, of being canceled, of being misunderstood. We swallow our words. We edit our thoughts. This self-censorship creates a blockage in the throat chakra, often manifesting as thyroid issues, chronic sore throats, or a weak, tremulous voice. The vagus nerve passes directly through the vocal cords. When we suppress our voice, we suppress our nervous system's ability to regulate. The fifth inhale is the breath of courage. This breath is active. It is kinetic. You inhale sharply, focusing on the vibration of the air moving across the vocal cords. You are breathing in the right to take up space. You are breathing in the right to be disruptive. The Gnostics understood that logos, the word, has the power to structure reality. By suppressing your word, you suppress your ability to shape your world. As you hold this breath, you visualize a blue light clearing the constriction in the neck. You prepare yourself to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. You sever the attachment of social approval. You realize that your authenticity is more important than your likability. The sixth attachment point is the third eye, the center of perception. Located in the center of the forehead, corresponding to the pineal and pituitary glands, this is the screen upon which we project our reality. The control system hacks this screen by flooding it with noise. The news cycle, the endless scrolling, the flashing images. It is all designed to keep the third eye fixated on the material, the catastrophic, and the trivial. This creates a calcification of the intuitive faculty. We lose the ability to see patterns. We lose the ability to discern truth from lies. We become dependent on experts to tell us what is real. We become spiritually blind, led by the blind. The sixth inhale is the breath of clarity. This breath is directed upward. You imagine pulling the air not just into the lungs, but drawing energy up the spine into the center of the brain. The intention is to scrub the lens. You are breathing in a demand for truth. You are commanding your subconscious mind to show you reality as it is, not as you have been told it is. This is a dangerous breath for the system because a human who can see clearly cannot be deceived. As you hold this breath, you focus intensely on the space between the eyebrows. You are reactivating your own internal guidance system. You are cutting the cord of confusion and cognitive dissonance. You are asking to see the code behind the matrix. Finally, we reach the apex, the seventh attachment point, the crown. This is the point of connection to the cosmos. The ultimate lie of the Archons is the lie of separation. They want you to believe that you are an isolated fragment, alone in the dark, disconnected from the source. This sense of isolation is what drives all the other fears. If you are separate, you are vulnerable. If you are separate, you must fight to survive. If you are separate, you are finite. The seventh inhale is the breath of the monad. It is the breath of unity. This is the slowest, deepest, and most profound breath of the entire sequence. You visualize a column of white or violet light descending from the center of the galaxy, entering the crown of your head and anchoring you to the earth. You breathe in your true identity. You remember that you are a fractal of the infinite. You are the drop that contains the ocean. As you hold this breath, you suspend time. In that pause, there is no fear, no shame, no past, no future. There is only the eternal now. You are reconnecting the circuit that was cut. You are telling the system, I am not yours. I belong to the infinite. When these 7 breaths are woven together into a continuous practice, the effect is alchemical. You are transmuting lead into gold within your own biology. You are moving from a carbon-based consciousness rooted in survival and decay to a crystalline consciousness rooted in light and information. But we must discuss the aftermath. The effect phase of this protocol is where many falter. When you begin to sever these attachments, the system reacts. You may experience what is known in psychology as an extinction burst. This describes the sudden spike in behavior just before it stops. As you reclaim your energy, the old patterns may flare up. You might feel a sudden, intense wave of anxiety or a night of vivid, chaotic dreams. You might find that relationships which were based on your old, low-frequency self suddenly crumble. People may be triggered by your presence without knowing why. The people around you who are still plugged into the system may subconsciously sense that you have unplugged, and this can cause friction. This is not a sign that you are doing it wrong. It is a sign that it is working. You are detoxing from a lifetime of energetic parasitism. The Archons are losing their grip, and the friction you feel is the sound of the chains breaking. The physical symptoms can be equally profound. A sense of heat running up the spine, a vibration in the hands, a ringing in the ears. These are documented phenomena associated with the movement of Kundalini, or vital force. You are bringing a high-voltage current into a system that has been running on low power for decades. The wires will get hot. The nervous system is recalibrating to handle a higher charge of reality. The boundary of this work lies in your consistency. This is not a magic pill that fixes everything in one night. It is a discipline. The Archons rely on your inertia. They rely on the fact that humans are easily distracted. They know that you might watch this video, feel a spark of recognition, and then scroll to the next dopamine hit, forgetting everything you just heard. They are banking on your forgetfulness. They are banking on you falling back asleep. To win this war, you do not need weapons. You do not need to fight in the streets. You simply need to remember to breathe. You need to reclaim the autonomic real estate of your own body. Every time you consciously choose the 7-inhale pattern over the shallow gasp of stress, you are winning a battle. You are starving the parasite and feeding the soul. This knowledge was hidden for a reason. It is dangerous to the status quo. A population of sovereign, fearless, connected human beings cannot be ruled. They cannot be herded. They cannot be lied to. The ancient Gnostics were hunted down not because they prayed to a different god, but because they possessed a technology of freedom. That technology is now in your hands. It is in your lungs. The code is written into your very biology, waiting for you to activate it. The door to the cage is open. It has always been open. All you have to do is take the breath, walk through it, and never look back. The air on the other side is different. It is the air of home. Breathe.